So if you guys need me to pause, make sure you tell me in the chat that you need me to pause. We're going to title these notes 6.2. And I actually want to get the formal title of this chapter. Yeah, I was right. So it's comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. It's kind of a long title, so if you guys need time to write it down, go ahead and take it. All right, so we already learned about fractions, decimals, and percentages. We learned how to convert those two, or those three things. Now we're going to actually compare them. So we are going to compare a fraction and a percentage. So which is greater? 3/20 or 16%? Which is greater? So we just had a pretty good discussion in class about how we can compare this fraction, 3/20, and 16%. It's kind of hard to compare 3/20 as a fraction to a percentage like 16%. So you can do one of two things. You can convert 3/20 into a percentage, or convert 16% into a fraction. I'm going to be your friend right now, and I'm going to tell you, if you have fractions, you want to convert the fractions. You want to get rid of the fractions. Because if you convert 16% into a fraction, if they don't have the same denominator, it's going to be even harder to compare them. It's harder to reason and conceptually understand the quantity of the fractions. So let's convert 3/20 into a percentage. So how do I convert 3/20 into a percentage? Remember, this is 3 divided by 20. 3 divided by 20. Well, 20 does not fit into 3. So I'm going to start the decimal process. 20 fits into 30 one time. You have 10 left over. 20 goes into 100 5 times. And there you have it. You have 3/20 equals 15/100 as a decimal. And if we convert our decimal into a percentage, we can multiply this by 100. Or we can just move the decimal place 2 places to the right. And we know that that's going to be 15%. So what's greater, 15% or 16%? 16%. Because 3/20 is 15%. Which one's greater? 16% is greater. So you can write it at the bottom. 16% is greater. And many of you guys actually told me that in the chat. So good job. Before I could even teach you how to compare those two, you guys knew you had to convert one of the two. If you need me to pause, go ahead and say pause in the chat. If you're ready, go ahead and say ready in the chat. Okay, it looks like we're ready. So we're going to compare a decimal and a percentage. I think this one might be a little easier. Which is greater, 79% or 0.8% or 8/100? So I'm going to copy down what a lot of you guys wrote down in the chat. A lot of you guys wrote this down. You said 79% is greater because 79 out of 100 is greater than 8 out of 100. See how they both have the same denominator? They both have 100 as the denominator. Actually, let me change my, there we go. See that? So now we can compare them. What's greater, 79 or 8? Well, 79 out of 100. You can also write them as percentages. You can say 79% is greater than 8%. Remember, we can just, when we have a decimal, we can move it 2 places to the right and then put a percentage symbol. 79% is greater than 8%. You can also compare them as decimals. Remember, 79% is the same as 79 cents out of every dollar. And 8% is the same as 8 cents out of every dollar. What's greater, 79 cents or 8 cents of every dollar? Well, 79 cents is. So we just converted it into fractions. We saw the percentages. And we also compared the decimals. That's pretty cool that we know how to convert fractions into percentages, percentages into fractions, decimals into percentage, percentages into decimals, and fractions into decimals. That's a lot of stuff that we're learning. It's awesome. Now I'm going to give you a real life scenario. Can you guys tell me in the chat if you're ready or if you need me to pause? So I'm not going to have you guys write down the whole real life scenario. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the information by reading it, and then we're going to just write down the information we need. So don't write this yet. Well, you can write this. Real life application. Real life application. So let's say you, your sister, and a friend each take the same number of shots at a soccer goal. So the 3 of you guys are just standing in front of a soccer goal, and you're trying to see, like, you're taking record of how many goals you guys actually make. So you make 72% of your shots. So put you, aka me. You make 72% of your goals. Your sister, if you don't have a sister, this is going to be your invisible math sister. Your sister makes 19 out of 25 of her shots or of her goals. And then your friend has 67, 0.67 of his shots or of his goals. All right. Who made the fewest shots? Who made the fewest goals? This is the big picture. Who made the fewest goals? What a brutal question, huh? Basically, who isn't good at soccer? They probably should have asked who made the most goals. But the question wants to embarrass whoever made the fewest goals. So we're going to see if it's you, your sister, or your friend. All right, so I'm going to go a little fast because I went off task a little too much in our class. So we have 72%. You made 72%. Let's keep it like this. Let's keep it as percentages, okay? Let's see how much your sister made in goals. 19 out of 25. 19 out of 25. So if I convert this into a percentage, I can do it 2 ways. I can divide 19 by 25, and you can use a calculator for this. Or you can reason through your fraction, multiply it by 4. If you multiply it by 4, you get 100 as the base, and now you can get the percentage. 19 times 4, I have it written down right here, is 76. So that's 76%. So your sister made 76% of her goals. Oh, so far between you and your sister is the better one right now. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. Your sister made more goals. Now your friend, on the other hand, they gave us a decimal. But we can easily convert that decimal into a percentage. That's 67%, because 67 cents out of every 100 is 67%. So who made the fewest goals? Your friend did. Yay! So your sister's the best one. You're in between. And then your friend is the person that we need to go take to tryouts to get some help, right? We're being so mean to our imaginary friend. So our friend had lowest goals. It's okay. Our friend is going to keep practicing and they're going to get a lot better. Okay, so I now have an example. This will be our last example. And I'm actually really excited about this example. So but I have a map of the United States of America in front of me. And I'm not even going to try to draw it because I would be terrible at it. So I'm going to give you the population numbers. So population, okay? And we're going to say the state of Washington has 1/50th of the population in the U.S. California, which is the state you live in, okay, right now, we're all in, well, except for one of us. One of us is in another state. I can't say it because I'm recording, but shout out to you. So California has 12/100ths of our population, or 12% of our population. Michigan has 3% of the population. New York, shout out to New York. I know a lot of you guys have been there. That's cool. New York has 6% of our population. And Ohio has 1/25th of our population. All right, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I got this example from the book, and I don't know what year the book was written, and I don't know if it actually is accurate with the numbers of the population. We can look it up later on. So don't take these numbers and think, oh, California is 12% of the population. That's what the book says, but it could be outdated. It could be higher or it could be lower than 12% for California. And same for all the other states. All right, so now it wants us to compare. It wants us to compare the population. Basically, who has the highest population, who has the lowest population, who's kind of in between, in the middle, who's second to the highest, who's second lowest. But it has fractions, it has percentages, and it has decimals. So we have to convert everything in this chart in order to be able to compare it. So the book actually tells us to organize our data. And I want to organize our data as well. I like the way the book has it for you guys. So the data has it like this. Write the state. So we're going to write the state. Instead of rewriting the names, we're just going to put the letter. So here's W for Washington, C for California, M for Michigan, N for New York, and O for Ohio. So let's put the states in here. We have Washington. We have California, Michigan, New York, and Ohio. And then they want us to write the fraction, the decimal, and the percentage. So the fraction, decimal, and then I'm just going to write the symbol for percentage because I kind of ran out of room. Percentage. So for Washington, they gave us the fraction. For California, they gave us the decimal. For Michigan, they gave us the decimal. For New York, they gave us the percentage. And for Ohio, they gave us the fraction. Your homework now, or your assignment right now in class, is to fill in the blanks according to the information given to us. All right, guys, so hopefully you have already had time to fill in the blanks. Remember, we had Washington for W, California is C, Michigan is M, New York is N, Ohio is O. So they gave us the fraction population, the fraction form of the population in Washington. Now we want to see what the decimal is. So remember, when we convert our decimals into, our fractions into decimals, we divide our numerator by our denominator. So you can divide 1 divided by 50 into a calculator, or you can multiply your fraction by 2 to get you 100 as the base. Now 2 out of 100 written as a decimal, you know that that's 2 cents out of 100 cents. So your decimal, I'm going to write it in yellow, okay, would be 0.02. 0.02. I'm going to zoom in. So 2 out of 100 written as a percentage, or 2 cents out of 100, is 2%. So 2% of the U.S. population lives in Washington, the state of Washington. Now for California, they give us a decimal. So now I'm looking at California. Can you guys tell me in the chat what 12 hundredths is as a percentage? 12 hundredths as a percentage. Tell me in the chat. Thank you. Correct. It's 12%. 12% is a lot bigger than 2%. There are a lot more people that live in California, in the state of California, than in the state of Washington. And then the fraction form. How would I convert 12% to a fraction? 12% into a fraction. 12 hundredths is the decimal, so the fraction is also 12 hundredths. I can simplify that fraction, and I can divide that fraction by 2. Let's divide that fraction by 2, and then if we get another fraction and we can divide it by 2, keep dividing by 2. So I'm going to divide both of those by 2, and I get 6/50ths. I can reduce 6/50ths as well. I can divide by 2 again, and that gets me 3 out of 25. So I'm actually going to erase that because I don't have room. So instead of dividing by 2 and dividing by 2, I can divide by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 100 divided by 4 is 25. All right. Now, how do I write Michigan's population? They gave me Michigan's population as a decimal, 3 hundredths. How do I write 3 hundredths as a percentage? One of you guys indicated in the chat that that's 3%. You are correct. Written as a fraction, that's 3 what? Hundredths? And I can't simplify that anymore. I can't simplify that any further. Now let's look at the population of the state of New York. The state of New York apparently has 6% of the population. How would I convert 6% into a decimal? .06. And all right, so a few of you guys told me in the chat that this decimal equivalent, the fraction equivalent is 6 out of 100. But we can reduce this by dividing. Oops. Sorry guys, I accidentally wrote it on the wrong spot. All right, so I can divide 6 hundredths by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 100 divided by 2 is 50. So 3/50th, 3 out of every 50, 3/50th, of the population of New York live in the United States. 6% of the population lives in the United States. 6 hundredths of the population of New York lives in the United States. No, 6 hundredths of the population in the United States lives in New York. That's what it is. Right now, Ohio, we have 1/25th. How do I convert 1/25th into a decimal? You can divide. That's one way. Divide 1 by 25. You can use a calculator. 1 divided by 25. Or you can multiply 1/25 by a number to get you 100 as the base. 25 times what is 100? 25 times 4, thank you, is 100. 1 times 4 is 4. The decimal equivalent is 4 hundredths. And the percentage equivalent is 4%. Now that I have all the percentages, which you guys should see here, 2%, 12%, 3%, 6%, 4%, we're going to actually graph the percentages and we're going to compare these percentages. So let's pretend we're starting at 0%, then 2%, 4%, 6%, 8%, 10%, 12%. And actually, I don't need my line to be that crazy long, so I'm going to shorten it. Now let's go ahead and plot. The population in Washington is 2%. So I'm going to plot a point and I'm going to put Washington right there, the state of Washington. Then California is at 12%. So that's why I put a C right there for California. Michigan is at 3%, so that's going to be between 2 and 4 right there. That's going to be 3% in between. That's going to be the state of Michigan. Then New York is 6%. And the last one is Ohio at 4%. So just by looking at your graph, which state has the highest population based on their percentages? Which state has the higher population in the United States?
California.
Yep. Thank you. Whoops. So California has the highest population. And then which state has the lowest or the least amount of population compared to the other 4 states? W, which is Washington. Good. And the state that's kind of in the middle would technically be Ohio. Because if you're comparing all those together, it's like, Ohio seems to be in the middle. It has 4% population, but it's not the average. It's not the average. I don't know if you guys have ever learned about averages, but we will definitely be learning about mean, median, mode. That's statistics.